Outlaws returns for Series 3 next Thursday at 9 on BBC One. And here to tell us a little more about breaking the law, it's the stellar Stephen Merchant.
All right, Stephen.
Lovely introduction. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Comedy genius, by the way.
Comedy genius. When I was last here, I think you weren't here. I think Gabby Roslin was filling in, and she referred to me as a national treasure.
Oh.
And that is what I'm angling for.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping
Well, it's
for.
funny. It's funny you should say that because I was going to talk to you about John Cleese.
Well, he was here recently, wasn't he?
He was here recently, and he is a comedy genius, and he is a national treasure. So
yeah.
you can be both.
Yes. Cleese, really, one of the reasons I got into comedy, if not the reason, because born in Weston-super-Mare near Bristol, went to school in Bristol, and for some reason as a kid I'm like, well, if you need tall, funny guys from the West Country, I can fill that
Look
hole.
no further.
Exactly.
Jeez, and I mean, he was here talking about Fawlty Towers, the stage play, which was previewing and has since press nighted and is doing great business apparently, and often The Office and Fawlty Towers are mentioned in the same, not breath, but the same conversation because of their success, their Englishness and their brevity.
Yes.
Can you speak to that? Because you're one of the architects of one of those, so...
one of my ambitions, well, I think my single ambition when I thought I could be the next Cleese was to write a sitcom that would be mentioned in the same conversation as Fawlty Towers. And the fact that we got there and that you mentioned that now has always been one of the highlights of my career. And annoyingly, I was going to go to that Fawlty Towers show and I couldn't. And I've never met Cleese. He's been a hero for years. I've never met him.
Extraordinary.
And the closest I got was my parents were on a cruise, because that's the kind of people they are now. And Cleese was giving a talk on the cruise. My parents, of course, got the wrong day, missed the talk. And anyway,
but they're on the same boat.
They're on the same boat. But anyway, so somehow they managed to get a word saying, would he sign a book he'd written for their son, Stephen? Anyway, so I get back to Bristol, I see them, and they've got a little kind of shaky video cam of their stateroom. They're trying, Elaine, press play. And it's a voice message from Cleese. And he's saying, hello there, Ron and Elaine. I can't do an impression. I don't know if your son is the same Stephen Merchant at the office, but I'm a big fan, more than happy to sign a book. And that's the closest I've got. And in a way, that's all I need, isn't it, really?
It's not extraordinary, but it's a bit extraordinary that you haven't met him, because you just think, well, you probably would have done, especially because you have this synergy. When I talk about the brevity of Fawlty Towers and The Office, can you explain to people what I mean by that?
Yes, Fawlty Towers, famously, they only did the 12 episodes, and we did 12 episodes plus a couple of Christmas specials. And I suppose we were sort of influenced to some degree by Cleese finishing it when it was still at its height. But if I look back now, I think it was also because we thought it was easy to write hit shows. And now when you discover actually it's quite hard. We'd have probably kept it going for years.
That's a bit of a bummer, that, isn't it?
Exactly.
When you're doing something, you think, well, obviously I am gifted. And then you are gifted, but so are lots of other people. It just happens to be your time. And don't give this one up, whatever you do.
Don't quit a hit. Is that the phrase, Chris?
Don't quit a hit. It's like when... So Robbie left Take That. And that was one thing. And then Robbie thinks, well, I don't need to do this anymore. Then about a minute later, he thought, oh,
right.
Probably. And then Take That split up. I remember that. And then thinking, well, this is what we do. We can do this again. No, you can't. And Gary Barlow couldn't get arrested for like 3 or 4 years or 5 years. But you're so right. Back to The Office, if you don't mind. When you wrote it and you came up with these 12 episodes plus a couple of others, when I look back now, Fawlty Towers, which I was very much around for and loved. The primary reason that I loved it, the primary reason that I loved it is because it was on at 9 o'clock, and because my dad liked it, I could stay up and watch it because it was bedtime at 9. Because 9 o'clock was usually news at 9 on BBC One, and we had to go to bed then. But he'd watch Fawlty Towers, which was at 9 o'clock on BBC Two, and he sort of didn't notice that we hadn't gone to bed.
Oh, yes.
So I loved it for that anyway, and then I loved it because it was funny.
Because it was brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, but speaking to both of those now, I can believe that Fawlty Towers was only 12 episodes, but I still can't believe that The Office was, because in my mind it just there had to be more episodes for me to have remembered so much of it and loved so much of it.
Do you think, though, that the success of the American version has skewed your memory
no,
of it?
Because
it seems like
I never watched the American version.
But it's always around now. It's always sort of in the cultural ether.
No, I think that as I troll through my my memory of The Office, there was so much that happened in it. It feels like it was more than 12 episodes.
Well, that's nice to say. I think that just means it got under your skin. I think that's the effectiveness of a show when the characters are taken to heart by the audience. It feels like they've sort of stayed with you and they're sort of members of your friend group or something.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
think
yeah.
with Fawlty Towers, it feels the same. It just feels like those characters are still running a hotel in
You're right.
in
You're
Torquay.
so right. I mean, you wrote it, so it was fascinating talking to you about how you remember it.
Yes, I just remember it. It honestly feels like it was yesterday. It seems crazy.
That's great, isn't it?
Isn't that wonderful?
It is wonderful, but it couldn't have been yesterday because you've done so much in between.
Thank you so
That'd
much.
been the busiest Sunday afternoon of all time, wouldn't it? Especially with the hotel stay.
That's right.
In the middle of it all. Do you remember, and we'll get onto the Outlaws in a bit because that's where all this leads eventually because that's what Stephen's doing at the moment. Do you remember the moment you and the people around you, Ricky and whoever else it was, decided to call it a day? Was it a conversation?
Well, I think it was that because Ricky and I were writing it all and directing it and he was in it, for some reason it felt hard. It felt like a lot. We were worried that we'd run out of stories and that we'd somehow, it would start to repeat itself and it would sort of feel lame and that its kind of glory years would have passed and the third series would be sort of not as good and people would sort of turn against us and we'd never become national treasures. But now I look back, I think we could have kept on going.
Well, America, you know,
they showed you that you can keep going.
Did,
so
yeah.
I think it was just perhaps naivety, and like I said, that was the first thing we'd done, and so I think we just thought, yeah, we've won a ton of awards. That I guess our next project, that was what it would always be.
Yeah.
We'll just keep writing hit shows and winning awards, and I don't think I've won an award since.
And because who's the lady producer, star writer of 30 Rock?
Tina Fey.
Tina Fey talks about The Office. She said in this interview I heard where she said Rick and Stephen, they got it sussed. They realised we only have to write 12 of these. Give it to the Americans. Let them do the rest.
Yes, well, she's right there. She is right there. But then, of course, there was just the two of us. You know, when I went to the American version of The Office, which I used to love doing, there'd be 12, 15 brilliant writers all in a room, all throwing ideas around.
Yeah.
And that's the
And by the way, sort of war hardy.
Yes, but also smart. These were Harvard people. They could have been lawyers. Now they're writing... comedy, and that was a thrill. It was like we'd won a competition. You know what I mean? Like, here's design a show, and then these brilliant people make it for like 200 episodes.
It's funny though, isn't it? So had you? I mean, you wouldn't have, if you knew what you know now, blah blah blah, or you'd have been a bit more American. You know, you probably wouldn't have stopped doing The Office, would you?
I don't think we'd have stopped. I think maybe we'd have brought some other writers in. Which I think at the time was, again, it was sort of frowned on, wasn't it?
Well, you're folding your arms just talking about it.
Well, because I think it was seen as somehow...
It's English. That's the English way,
The English way was a couple of guys just squirrel away in a room somewhere.
Yeah, I think George Lucas must be a bit English because... He would only let Star Wars happen when he felt the muse, and then he sold it to Disney, and they made one a week.
It's true,
and they're all really good.
Yeah,
because you can do it. You just got to get the right people.
You need a big team of people. That's it. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
It's like only ever casting a play with one person in it. No, get a few more actors. And why would it be different for the? It's funny though, isn't it? It's a different mindset.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, but what about you? Because you've had shows and then you've ended shows.
Yeah, no, exactly the same. We were talking about Jürgen when we watched the whole Jürgen Klopp thing at Anfield.
Yes.
Did you watch it last night?
I did see some of it. Yeah,
great, wasn't it?
Well, let me tell you that I'm angry with Klopp.
Well,
let me tell you why.
Yeah, I know why.
Because you know why, Chris. So normally, if I have my beard, which I don't have at the moment, but if I have my beard, I look like Klopp.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of people will come up and say, a lot of Klopp love, and people will come up and say, love you, and I'll have to point out, it's me from the Outlaws. And so anyway, I've started doing stand-up again, and I get some big laughs when I refer to Klopp and me looking like Klopp.
Yeah.
And now he's leaving. I'm furious with it.
Just go with him.
How long do you think I've got before the memory of Klopp fades? In the public consciousness.
Maybe this side of summer, this side of the Euros.
Do you think it's that quick?
Honestly, it's that quick. Football cools very quickly. Yeah.
You don't think people if I mention him this time next year, you don't think people will remember?
No, they'll remember him, but it's just...
They won't have a mental
It's
image.
not in the same breath, is it?
Yeah.
It's not on the telly every weekend. It's not,
I didn't think you were going to
say
say that,
Chris.
Chris.
Sorry. And also, please tell me you've met him.
I've never met Klopp. No.
Have you met anybody famous?
Never met anyone famous. Never met Cleese. Never met Klopp. All my heroes.
Oh, that's it. Because he's the same height as you as well.
Is he really?
Yeah.
No, you're confusing him with Peter Crouch.
No, Peter Crouch 6'9". You're 6'7".
Crouch is 6'9".
Yeah, he lies about his age. He lies about his height the wrong way. Doesn't he? Yes or no?
Yeah,
is he even taller?
He's taller. He lies about his age, so he doesn't sound as tall.
He makes himself shorter.
He makes himself sound shorter.
How weird.
Yeah.
What a strange... That's an odd.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
But Klopp's not 6'7".
He's 6'7".
Is he?
He's 6'7", yeah. You could go and have a conversation with him and just feel
Eye
like
to
a...
eye.
Yeah, that, by the way, the stuff at the BAFTAs was hilarious.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I was. I've always struggled to get clothes. We were just talking about a shop called High and Mighty. That used to be an expensive. It was expensive, but dare I say it, not great quality. And I used to have to go in there.
Do you think if you whisper it, it's okay?
Well, I'm worried that
It's still actionable.
Oh, right, you're right.
Yeah, yes, but Your Honour, he only whispered it in lower tones. He still said it out loud. Yes, but he sort of said it like that, which doesn't that soften the blow for at least to the tune of 50 grand?
Never got my head around radio, Chris. Don't realise how these microphones work. But you used to have to go in there. What was odd about High and Mighty was it was a shop for very tall people and very wide people. Don't know why we were teamed up. Don't know why we couldn't have a shop each.
Big and wide.
Big and wide. But I remember going. So I did an interview years ago for Time Out magazine, and I mentioned High and Mighty, and I was a bit negative about them. And you know how when you do a TV show, the costume woman. I was young.
You were young.
The costume woman will buy clothes from a shop, and then she'll say, "Look, I might need to bring these back if they're not used for the TV production."
Yeah.
So she went to High and Mighty and she bought a load of clothes.
Yeah.
And she said, "I'm buying these for an actor. I might need to bring them back." And the one behind the counter said, "Which actor?" And she said, "I'm not at liberty to say." And she said, "Is it him?" And she pulled out a laminated copy of the Time Out interview, and she said, "We're not selling clothes to him." I was on a list.
And we smell him on you, and you must leave.
Exactly.
Is it him?
Exactly.
Laminated?
Laminated.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, yeah. I was outlawed from High and Mighty.
Outlaws, let's get on to the Outlaws.
There you are.
See what you did there?
Oh, I'm a pro.
The Outlaws back, season 3.
Series 3. I think it's
Okay.
the first time I've ever got to a Series 3.
Well done.
Because I've learned from my mistakes with The Office.
Yeah.
Keep
No, you
going.
can't get rid of him.
Keep going.
Yeah, it's season 14 of The Outlaws. It's coming your way.
That's right.
So for people who don't know, can you set the scene, please, if you don't mind?
So Series 1, 7 lawbreakers who've done, different minor crimes or doing community service. They get embroiled into a...
Minor crimes that we know about.
That's right. And they get embroiled in a sort of larger criminal conspiracy that's happening. Series 2, you dial up the stakes. Now they're trying to pay back a big crime lord. Series 3, someone shows up with a dead body.
Yeah, and by the way, straight off the bat...
Right?
No question about
I've always
it.
thought with Series 3 in any kind of crime show, you've got to show up with a dead body. Haven't you? That's going to hook you in. And so, yeah, off we go.
I mean, it's so funny, isn't it? It's so funny. You're like, 12 episodes of The Office. Well, I'm probably done with this one. Ricky and I done. A couple of other people done. And then you take on this other thing. Talk about, paying your penance. These are 1 hour long.
Yep.
It's community. It's intrigue. It's a human story. A story of sexuality. A story of mystery. And there's laughs.
Yep.
I mean, this sounds like the hardest thing to write in the world compared to what you've done before.
It was the toughest thing I've ever done. Yeah, because you've got all that crime plot stuff, which is its whole other project.
Yeah.
You spend weeks just figuring out the crime
And it's
plot.
funny.
And then you've got to add the humour and the character and the emotional
Yeah,
rest
there's
of it.
people going through midlife crises, and there's
Yeah.
people trying to get a date. And
Oh, yeah. The Office was just what awkward thing could David Brent do this week?
It's so funny, though, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, the sophistication of what you do. Do you write this on your own?
No, I have a little team of writers.
Thank God for that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I've learned the lesson, you see.
jeez.
Not just going to be me and someone else in a room. I've got a whole gang together.
What I enjoyed about the episode of one of the new series is as I do with all the shows, trying to spot who you give your lines to. Do you know what I mean by that?
Okay.
Do
You
you
mean
know
the sort of thing I would normally
Yes!
say? Yeah, right.
And I think who's the guy that drive with the grey hair? The chauffeur.
Darren Boyd.
Yeah, I think that you give him, because do you have to distance your actual thoughts of Stephen Merchant as far away from the person you play and give them to someone else?
I'm not going to tell you whether they're my thoughts.
They are definitely.
They're not. I'm not going to.
They are 100% your thoughts.
Well, he's a kind of right-wing blowhard.
No,
Is that
no,
what you're
no,
saying?
no.
I am, Chris.
No, he's a right-wing blowhard. But
Do you
then
know what though? He's a very much a role that Cleese would have played in 1975.
Very
We've
much.
given him the kind of smart aleck, sort of frustrated with the world persona that Cleese would have done.
But a man who is in seek of redemption, with his self-improvement.
Yeah.
I love. See, I'm thinking because you're of an age. I'm thinking
That's true.
Are you reading? Is Stephen reading these books? Is Stephen listening to these tapes?
Do you know what?
Tapes.
Tapes? Yeah, is he getting his C90s out? Do you know what, though? I've never done any therapy, and I probably should. You seem like a man who's gone down that road. Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's probably helped. Is that fair to say?
Well, I'm not asking for my money back. Let's put it that way.
I've never done it because I think I'm worried about opening that door.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to know. I don't want to know what's in there.
There's
I'm one of those. I kind of wish, and this is a terrible thing to say, and I apologise to those out there who have suffered, but I could do with some trauma just to draw on creatively. Because so many so many of the great writers, comedians have had, dark pasts, have had troubled pasts, and they can draw on that. It fuels their creativity.
Yeah.
Jimmy
Carr says about that. He says, if I meet a new comedian, the first question I ask is, who was, I can't remember the phrase, like, who was ill in the house when you were a kid,
right.
Or who did you lose? Because it's usually a parent who's been really ill or who is no longer with us.
I know, exactly, and I didn't have
get any
that.
Of that.
No, in
You're
fact,
not a proper comedian then.
Well, it makes me. I'm furious every day. I mean, Richard Pryor, one of the greatest of all time. Famously, he grew up in a bordello run by his grandmother, where his own mother was a. Yeah. My mother, nothing. None of that.
You checked?
Yep, asked her.
For sure.
Yeah, I've said, come on, Mum. Must be something, but nothing. Loving family, both parents there.
Well, where does the drive come from then?
This is what's so strange. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
We said today that if you live your life in fear of a particular catastrophe happening, it's because it already has, and you just fear it happening again.
Okay.
So let's go there, Stephen. Is there anything, with that being specific, by the way, is there anything that you fear on a regular basis or causes you anxiety on a regular basis? Because if there is, maybe that's already happened.
I think I was always fearful of a life of frustration and boredom. Right. I was anxious about waking up and not enjoying the job I did.
Well, I think you've made more than...
I've put that one to bed, yeah. But then why am I still pursuing it so hard? What is it?
Maybe you are gifted.
Someone said to me, Chris, maybe
energy.
This is it. Someone said to me once, do you think that you went into comedy to control when people laugh at you? Mm. Now, he's 6'7", Peter Crouch will know this.
Hang on a minute.
You are the centre of attention whether you want it or not.
Maybe that's the answer then.
Is that it?
Maybe that's as simple as that. Maybe, in which case... a lot more taller people should be funnier than they are. Thinking about that. Not because it's their duty, just because you think that might have helped them in the past.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you think that could be it?
Could be it. The other thing I read over the weekend, was the things we pursue or try to control the most are uncontrollable, and much of life is uncontrollable. And actually what's set up now, the world is set up now because of smartphones and screens and things to delude us into thinking we can control the world.
Yes.
But you can't. You can only control that bit of the world. But the second you look up, the world is out of control. And hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, human beings would never deign to imagine they could control the planet. Well, guess what? Most of the planet is still pretty much like that.
Right.
It's just that the bits we live in and have in front of us, on occasion, aren't.
So the fact that we think we can control it when we can't, what does that lead us to do? What does that mean? That
waste our time, I would imagine.
Really?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are a guru of sorts, aren't you, Chris?
I read a lot.
Yeah, well, no, good for you. Yeah,
and it's nice. I like it. I like it. But what I found more and more is that just surrendering to. So I was thinking about this over the weekend. Surrendering to being a parent is, I've been a parent forever now. I have 5 children, but only recently, I'm talking about the last few weeks, have I surrendered to being a parent.
What does that mean?
I don't really know what it means.
Yeah.
I think I sort of know what it means. Is I've just completely given up all agency over my own life.
You just let them sort of dictate the rhythm
of
it?
Not really. It's not even that. I just surrendered to the environment that I'm in, and then they can sense it, and everything's more all right than when I try and make it all right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I should be paying you.
No, I mean, if you're a parent, I hope that's helpful, because I don't have kids, so that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
That last 5 minutes means nothing.
You're saying, I could do with some trauma to draw on for your comedy.
Yeah.
I think you're doing all right. I mean, in this episode that we saw, right, at one stage, and this, I don't think it's a spoiler. Can I describe that scene that I talked to you? So, at one stage, a pig is trying to eat a dead body while you're all stood around talking about your nymphomaniac friend's uterus while somebody else is trying to get a selfie.
Yes.
I think you were all right. I mean, if you did have trauma, God help us.
Yeah, that's without the trauma. Good point, well made, Vassos.
That's just a writer's room. I was calling on their trauma.
By the way, that's just 3 minutes of episode number 1, series 3.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's
in
loads
the show.
going
There's a
on.
lot
What should we do next? Oh, let's make the pig try and eat the body.
Give us some story arcs. Just whet people's appetite with the story arcs exclusively episode 1.
Story arcs in episode 1.
Yeah, there's all the stuff that's going on.
Well, like I say, I've always wanted a show where someone shows up with a body.
Yep.
And so it's who is the dead body and why is that person dead. Then you've got... mentioned my roommate, Gabby, played by Eleanor Tomlinson. She's discovered that she needs to get pregnant if she wants to have a child.
By the way, nice viral trails on Insta with her.
Thanks so
Very good.
Thanks so
Very good.
much. We've got Myrna, who's our sort of activist character. She's always been quite a sort of emotionally closed person in the previous years.
She's still on the dating
now
circuit.
Now she's onto the dating circuit. But plus you've got, as you say, you've got the character of John. He's trying to deal with his sort of personal issues by leaning into the self-help stuff. And then you've got the crime story on the top of that. But later in the series,
also the community police still going on. I mean, is that still the hub? Would you say, or is it the hub?
That's still the hub. Yes, the community service project. And then we've got the brilliant Jessica Gunning, who people now will have seen in Baby Reindeer, which is a phenomenon.
I haven't heard of that. Haven't heard about that.
But she was.
What is that?
She was in our show first.
People talking about that show?
No.
People are talking about it, but she's been in our show since
That
series
is
1.
interesting. I was going to talk to you about what. I mean, obviously you know her very well. You work with her. You're good friends with her. What effect has the Baby Reindeer success, notoriety, infamy, fame, engagement had on her?
Well,
what is she like with it?
I haven't really seen her yet since it's hit, but I'll see her this afternoon, so I will be able to find out. But she's the sweetest woman and such an amazing collaborator. She's brilliant. We've made her a writer in this series as well because she's so good.
You've cast her as a writer.
No. She's literally a writer on the show.
Right.
Yeah, she wrote the final episode with me. But my concern is I won't be able to get her on the phone if we do another series. I'm always anxious that people become super successful and I can't get hold of them anymore.
She's not like that, though.
She's not like that, no. But
Agents.
That's it. Exactly.
Is she the David Brent of this piece?
Well, in that she has a massive blind spot. Yes, she doesn't see herself.
She thinks she's like,
she thinks she's one thing when she's actually something else.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Would that be right
yeah.
there?
A little bit of Gareth in there as well, kind of Gareth Brent blend.
Yeah.
Pure comedy. The only woman I've ever had an audition tape from where I didn't have a single note. It was perfect.
So was she cast in Baby Reindeer because they'd seen her in?
Not sure. You'd have to ask that team. I don't know.
If so, they owe you some. They owe you some money.
Do you know what? Because you remember Martin Freeman in The Office went on to great things.
Yeah.
I've worked with Florence Pugh in my wrestling movie.
Never been heard of.
I'd love to get a little piece of that future action. You know, like how boy band managers can often somehow
You were like a scout.
I am a scout. I'd love some of that Marvel money or that Hobbit money.
Well, at least pay for your weekends away and
Wouldn't
Chippenham.
Just 1 or 2%. That's all I'm asking.
It's a great show. I mean, it's a big show. It's a sexy show. It's cool, man.
It's exciting. It's really fun, and I've always wanted to do a genre show. with the in this case the thriller genre, and I like that. Because there are certain parameters.
Is it a thriller-y? No, because they call
That's a new phrase.
I just made it up. I'm quite pleased with
It's
myself.
quite good, actually.
So there's comedies, there's dramas, there's dramedies. This is a thriller-y.
It is a
It's
thriller-y.
comedy thriller.
It is a thriller-y. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that is. I love that.
See?
Yeah, no, it is. And it's. I don't know what else to say. I'm very proud of it. I'm genuinely proud of it. It was a really difficult show to make because there's all those strands. And in this series, I'm very pleased because my character's a lawyer. We've never seen him in court, and I finally get to go to my big court scene.
Yeah.
And in it, there's a point where I shout, "Objection, Your Honour!" And the lawyer, the judge says, "We don't say objection in this country. That's an American thing." And I didn't realise that until I wrote the show and I did some research. And the lawyer told me apparently we don't shout objection, which I didn't realise. Did you?
No.
Apparently,
I'm sure they did that on Crown Court all the time.
I don't think that was right.
Do you remember Crown Court?
No, don't remember.
Oh,
it, yeah.
you're just a bit too young. Crown Court was like Crown Court was the first ever really big daytime show on ITV. If you were sick off school, you got to watch Crown Court.
Yeah.
You thought it was the best thing in the world just because it was associated with the fact you were off school. And then the next bit was Crossroads, which was the first tea time soap in a way.
The show I remember watching whenever I was off from school, Happy Days.
Happy Days.
With just the other day I was at a Bruce Springsteen concert in the States and I met Henry the Fonz
You got to be careful with your Bruce Springsteen thing.
I have got to be careful.
You're getting a bit Baby Reindeer.
I know I am. I'm all over the place with him.
How many times have you seen Springsteen?
Too many times. I've seen him every tour since The Rising, which was about 2002.
How good is he this time round?
Amazing. I mean, he's still extraordinary. He's
still
he's 74
extraordinary
now?
or getting better?
I tell you one thing, his energy levels do not dip. 3 hours, 3.5 hours, I don't think he takes a sip of water.
It's ridiculous,
It's
isn't it?
absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
But anyway, I met Henry the Fonz Winkler, and he was a Steve fan. I couldn't believe it. I was because it's those people that are formative heroes, isn't it? They're the ones that really count, whether it's Cleese or the Fonz. Those people that you were a fan of, that you kind of had a little worship of when you're young, are the ones that always stick with you.
Henry Winkler, the perpetrator of my favourite quote of all time, and I know a few.
Go on.
Yeah, that was the Fonz. But he said, and he said it in his book. He said, by the time I realised my father was right, I had a son who thought I was wrong.
Yeah, that's lovely.
It's all there, isn't it?
That's perfect.
It's 360.
Beautiful.
Squared the circle.
Yeah.
So you chatted to the Fonz, man.
Chatted to the Fonz.
We had Ron Howard in the other day.
Nice guy.
Oh, off the chain. Off the chain.
Yeah.
Super talented.
Oh, he's fantastic. Yeah.
And his book, have you read Ron Howard's book?
I have not.
Oh, you'd love it. It's all about movies and writing, directing. Yeah. His story of Happy Days is a very, very interesting story because it was written for him. Do you know that?
Was it? Okay.
The whole show was written around Ron Howard.
Yeah.
And Fonzie was sort of an aside.
Yeah.
And then Fonzie was the big hit and then took over, but Ron had the principal contract. Very interesting industry story.
So is it right that did I read the other day that Happy Days was made in the 70s, set in the 50s, and that would be like making a show set in the 90s now, right?
I know.
Isn't that weird?
Only just.
Yes.
Maybe the noughties even.
Yes, exactly.
The noughties. Should do that. If we made a retro show now set in the noughties, that would be post TFI Friday.
It would, wouldn't it?
That'd be retro, 25 years retro, and it'd still be after TFI.
TFI would be old news.
Yeah. Steve, what else is going on?
I've gone back to stand-up first time in about 10 years.
I saw some clips on the whole tour thing. That was all fun.
Really enjoyed
By the way, can I
doing
just say you're diving into the tour thing now? Because you didn't for a while, and now you've sort of you've owned it again.
At the moment, those are probably older clips that you saw. I'm just still working up new material at the moment, which is just popping up in clubs and pubs.
How's that going?
Trying out my 5-10 minutes.
Oh, question.
Yes.
I was going to ask you about this, and I'm glad you brought it up. So we had Eddie Izzard on last week.
Fantastic.
And we said to her, do you have a notebook in your bag now are you still finding things funny? And she said, yeah, all the time.
Yep.
And I said, can you give us a bit then? So she got out her phone, right? She said, well, here's some things. Is this funny? And then went into 15 minutes, the funniest things. We said, well, that's it. You're done. That's the next tour.
Yeah.
Do you have a notepad? I mean,
I have to look on my phone. You might want to play a record while I have a look, but I can't be sure if it's on here.
These notes.
These would be notes that are just half. They're literally an idea. You're walking down the street.
That's exactly what Eddie said.
But I don't think it will be as refined. Can't say that. No, none of that I can say. That's
so
all.
any subject narratives that you could...
Those were all too rude.
Right.
No, can't say any of that.
Lots of jaw clenches happening here. Interesting.
No, this is all too rude, this stuff.
What subjects are they, though? What's the subject matter?
Oh, this is something about... This is what I'm just working on, which is about... because my partner, Messiah, is American.
Right.
And she holidayed originally, she grew up in California. She holidayed in the beaches of Hawaii, Malibu.
Yeah.
And I got to take her to the British beach
Morecambe?
experience. Bognor.
Margate? Bognor?
Fantastic. Also some Southwest Devon.
Royal Bognor? You told her it was royal.
Of course. But so it was introducing her to the great British beach holidays,
Brilliant.
So it's the bank holiday weekend. It's slightly grey and overcast. She says, I assume we're not going to the beach. I say, oh, no. The one thing about British people is, if we say we're going to the beach, we're going to the beach, right? And so I had to introduce her to things like the windbreak. Not something that she's the portable canvas wall that we erect.
We're insane, aren't we? We're insane.
Yeah.
What about the windbreak cities that they erect at certain families?
Well, I've seen there's tents now.
Oh, yeah.
On some beaches.
Well, Aussie Jane's going back to Australia on Thursday, not forever, hopefully. So she'll be called just Jane for a couple of weeks because she'll be in Australia. So we call her anyway. So she's just been talking about the weekend, how gorgeous it was here. She said, it's so funny, Chris, because when I came over here, we thought it was going to be cold. And the weekend we arrived, the first time from Australia, it was 22 degrees. And she said, I thought to myself, well, it's not that cold. And then I saw people in bikinis in the park. And she said, well, it's not that cold, but it's not that warm. And by the way, you're in the park. Why are you wearing bikinis in the park?
We were on the beach with Messiah, and she had 2 overcoats on, and we were in our swimwear, and she was saying, I feel like I'm a homeless person. It was so... Because it's, why would you wouldn't go to the beach in America, in LA, unless it was sort of 80 degrees.
Which it always is.
Which it always is, exactly. But here, we're going out, it's like 61 Fahrenheit, and we're sort of, but yeah, she was, the foods, there's food that the beach food, the Scotch egg, I didn't realize that's not an American thing. There's so much food that we have, the pork pies, sausage rolls, none of that. You take an American into a Greggs, they don't know what's going on.
Well, a lot of the food that we eat now, hand food, like your pasties, and the reason the pastry was invented was to protect the meat inside, and we'd throw the pastry away.
Oh, was that what it was?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was a preservative.
Right. Whereas we're chowing down through the pastry, the whole deal.
Yeah, and the pastry was inedible. Tom Kerridge still makes that kind of pastry, and you have to throw it away because you can break your teeth on it.
Yeah.
And we just made it more edible. Anyway, Steve, we're out of time, man. Doesn't time fly?
It's always a pleasure being
That
here.
was 40 minutes. The Outlaws Series 3 begins Thursday, 30th of May, 9 p.m. BBC One. Come on!
Here we are.
Yes! And how's the summer looking?
The summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little vacation, back to the old stand-up.
Yeah.
It should be a fun one.
Good for you. When does the stand-up tour start in earnest?
There's no actual tour booked in yet, just working
you
out
come
the
and see us
material.
again for that?
Of course I will.
It'd be great if you did.
You'll see if I've refined that into a proper act.
By the way, look at those proper notes.
Oh, there's proper notes, yeah.
Good. Stephen, thank you.
Thank you, mate. Always a pleasure.
Lovely to see you.
And you.
All right. Excellent.
Virgin Radio.